Hey guys, it's Bill here again, and this is the first video in my new series of short tutorials called Piano Questions Answered. This week's question comes from user redstrap1234, who is seriously annoyed about slash chords. Why the hell do they show what you should play with your left hand on the right hand side and what you should play with your right hand on the left side? It just makes it more difficult than it needs to be for no reason. Grr. Yeah, so let's start by reminding ourselves what a slash chord is. Here's one written down in chord notation, and right away we can see why it's called a slash chord, because of that slash in the middle. Although when we're naming it, we wouldn't usually say D minor 7 slash G. Usually we'd say something like D minor 7 over G, or D minor 7 with a G in the bass. And that's because that's what the chord indicates. We're playing a D minor 7 chord in whatever voicing or inversion in the right hand, but the lowest note we play, which is usually going to be in the left hand, should be a G. Okay, that's a really common chord, D minor 7 over G, especially in songs in the key of C. It's a very handy substitute for the G chord, the number 5 chord, because it resolves really nicely to the tonic, to C. Now if you think about it, Red Start has a point. If the note after the slash is the one we're playing in the bass, probably with our left hand, it does seem kind of silly to have it on the right of the chord. Now if it helps, think of slash chords like this, with the main chord actually on top of the bass note. Sometimes you'll even see them written like that. It's just that they tend to be written next to each other with a slash because that's more convenient and it takes up less vertical space. But if you visualize them with the main chord on top of the bass note, kind of like a fraction, and if you always name them as D minor 7 over G, then the notation should begin to make much more instinctive sense. So that's how slash chords work, but what about why we use them? An important thing to remember about any chord is that the bass note, the lowest note of the chord, is in some ways the most important. That's because it does a huge amount to define the chord's character. Let's say, for example, we've got a little bit of chord progression that runs like this. C, G, A minor 7, F. Now we could do what I did just there and play the root note of each chord, the note that the chord is named after, in the bass. Yeah, that will work absolutely fine. But what if we created a slash chord out of the G and played G over B? Let's play the progression through with that G over B. C, G over B, A minor 7, F. Straight away we've made a couple of things happen. First of all, we've got a more natural bass line. But also that B under the G gives the chord a slightly different character. Can you hear that? It's a little bit more unstable, a little bit more delicate, kind of hard to define, but it's definitely different from the way the chord sounds with the root in the bass, with the G in the bass. We can change the character of those chords again by going up the scale in the bass. C, G over D, A minor 7 over E, F. They're the same chords, but can you hear how the different bass note is making that kind of subtle difference? Or we could play around a little bit. We could play C, G over D, A minor 7, F over C. Listen to how that C under the F gives it a kind of a slightly bolder, a slightly brassier, a more pronounced kind of sound compared to the root in the bass. Or we could even run a single bass note under all 4 chords, like C. We would call that bass note a pedal tone, and out of it we're creating whole new chords. So it's pretty useful to be able to specify a bass note in chord notation, and that's why slash chords exist. To use a technical terminology, they give you some information about how a chord should be voiced. It's worth remembering though that this kind of chord notation, pop notation, jazz notation, call it what you like, is really a shorthand, and different writers use it in different ways. It tends to get used in different ways in different genres even. There isn't a single accepted standard, and it does have limits. So the more precise you want to be about exactly which notes a chord contains and where they should go in the chord, the more the system of chord notation is going to struggle. Once things start getting really complicated and you find yourselves writing chords like F major 7 add 9 with a flat 7 sharp 9 over A, yeah, or you want to specify a precise voicing for a chord, really you need to use staff notation. That's where the system breaks down. Okay, so there we go. For future episodes in this series, I'm going to pull questions out of the comments I get on my other tutorials, but if you have any specific questions about piano or music theory, and you think a video would be a good way of answering them, add them in the comments under this video and I might use your idea. If you want to know more about chords, don't forget to check out my book, How to Really Play the Piano. It covers all this kind of stuff that you wish your piano teacher or your high school music teacher had taught you, and it's available as a PDF download and as a print book. Also, remember to subscribe to my channel and follow me on Facebook and Twitter. You'll find all the links you need in the description text right underneath this video. I'll see you again soon.